Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to make something called a traditional Scottish bridie, which is a traditional Scottish meat pie. It's a hand pie. So last year, probably about a year ago, I did Scottish pies, and those are really, really delicious, and they're made out of a hot water. It's made with a hot water crust. So that's kind of a different type of crust. It's not a typical pie crust at all, but it's the type of crust they use in Scotland to make these. So today I'm going to make a much easier and simpler version of a meat pie, which is the bridie. So you're going to use puffed pastry, which makes it so much easier to make. And it's still very delicious, but it's a much simpler meat pie to make. So I think you'll really, really enjoy this for the simplicity of it and the deliciousness of it. So let's get started. These are all the items that you're going to need to make these Scottish bridies. You're going to need 1 to 1.5 pounds of ground beef. You're going to need 2 sheets of puff pastry, 1 onion, and I'm using a white onion. You can use a yellow one also. I'm using a 1/4 cup of beef broth, 1.5 teaspoons of dry mustard, 1/2 teaspoon of ground mace. Now, if you don't have mace, you can use nutmeg instead. It's part of the nutmeg. It's the outer shell of it, the mace. Then you're going to use 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 3 tablespoons of butter, and 1 large egg. So those are all the ingredients that you're going to need. Now, it's totally optional to use, but I am going to put about 1.5 teaspoons of Worcestershire and like 1/2 teaspoon of marjoram. It just gives it extra flavor. Okay, I grated my onions, and now I'm going to grate my butter. It's just a quicker way to do it. You can chop it up if you want, but I'm just going to grate it because I notice it is just so much quicker. So what we're going to do next, after we have everything ready, we're going to put all our seasonings in. So I have all the seasonings in here. The mace, all the seasonings I told you, and I'm going to put them in the bowl, all of them together. And then I'm going to add the onions and the butter. And I'm also, like I said, I'm going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. I'm not saying it right, but. And then we're going to just take a 1/4 cup of the beef broth. And we're just going to take your hands and just mix all of it together, just like you're doing a meatloaf. This is all going to be mixed together, just like that. So I will continue this and I will be back. Okay, here's your beef mixture. What we're going to do is set this aside and we're going to roll out our pastry. Okay, you're going to want to roll this out and just stretch it as far as you can, kind of. And then we're going to cut it in half. So here's your dough. It's all rolled out, kind of thin. Now you want to beat 1 egg. And add just like maybe 1/8 teaspoon of water to this. Okay, now you want to cut this in half, just like this. And then you want to put some meat, about, I'm not measuring how much, just kind of about like that, on each side. Like about the size of like a hamburger patty. Just about like that. And now we're going to brush the edges with an egg wash, just like this. Just center this more so you could see it. Then what you're going to do is fold this over on both of them. You just want to bring it to the very edge and kind of push down on the edges like this. And then what you want to do is kind of go around it where you kind of shape it like this. So you want to push down, and it'll just be these edges here that you have the egg wash. You don't need it on both sides. want to get a fork, and you want to have some flour just in case so it doesn't stick, and you want to crimp these with a fork all the way around. And I always have flour near me because sometimes you need it. Otherwise it might stick. Okay, the next step is you're going to move these onto a baking sheet. And I'm going to do 2 at a time. I am going to make more, but I'm just showing you these right now because I'm baking 2 at a time. So now there is enough for 2 more. And these pastry sheets, they come with 2 different pastry sheets, so this will make 4. So now you're going to get some more egg, and you're going to cover the BRIDIES with some egg wash. So you can see how much easier this one is than the ones I did last year, but they're different types. They're not the same. They don't even have the same filling exactly. It's similar, but the other one has a gravy. These don't have a gravy. This isn't supposed to be made. They're just hand pies. And these are easier. There's no question about it. So they're both really, really good. So now what you want to do, I should have gotten a smaller knife, but I didn't. You just want to do a little score in the middle. You can do like a crisscross. That way it can vent out any steam. So now these are going to go into a 400-degree Fahrenheit oven, anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. And after 20 minutes, if it starts getting kind of too dark, you can tent it with some foil so it doesn't burn. So I'm going to put these in the oven. I'm going to put these in about 450, but I'm going to do 425. But 450 is the temperature that it calls for. I'm going to go with 425. Okay, they go on the middle rack. Okay, these baked 26 minutes. So everyone's oven is different, and that's one thing that I need to stress. Now, I did put this in at 425. The recipe calls for 450. And I originally was going to go with 400, which I wish I had. These aren't as burnt as they look on camera. They're dark brown, but they're not burned. So I would suggest it all depends on your oven. So I guess I would do it over at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. These cooked 26 minutes. So I'm going to say it all depends on our ovens. I would go anywhere from 25 minutes to 35 minutes. And I don't know, everyone's oven, like I said, is different. So we're going to wait for these to cool because they're very hot, and I'm going to put them on a rack. Okay, we're going to give it a taste. It's still warm. That's the best time to eat it, when it's still warm. I'm going to try to get a piece that's not too hot, but it looks good. It is dark, and if you don't want it this dark, cook it at 400 and maybe go with 20 minutes. And like if it's starting to get real dark, tent it. I tented it when it was 20 minutes so it was already dark. So I think 400 might be better for some ovens, not all. So let's try it. Really flaky. Really good. Really flavorful. This is a savory pie. Really good. So the only thing I would change is the temperature and possibly the time, but it's oven dependent, and some dishes that you make aren't as dependent on your oven and some are. And this one, I like anything toasty and dark, like real golden. I like my toast dark. Not everybody does, so that's how you're going to experiment with your oven. So if you want to make a really savory pot pie, or this is a BRIDIES Scottish pie, this is so good and so easy to make. So I hope you give this a try. Thank you so much for watching.